The perpetrator in Boulder is clearly an Islamist. I mean, he's a Muslim from Egypt, an illegal immigrant who yelled "Free Palestine" and also "End the Zionists," etc. And apparently, in his interrogation, he elaborated on that even more. And the perpetrator of the killing of the two Israeli embassy staff members was not a Muslim. He was more like a socialist, extremist, American with no Islamist background. But why I say they're connected is that the atmosphere is one of anti-West, anti-Israel. In this sense, it's an intersectional issue. What used to be called, or maybe still is, the Red-Green Alliance between the far left, the communists, and the Islamists, even though they're strange bedfellows. If you just take the time period after October 7th, 2023, when Hamas committed the massacre and abducted 251 people, slaughtered 1,200, raped, burned, etc., one would have thought that the world would then sympathize with Israel or with the Jews to some extent, and the opposite happened. The explosion of anti-Semitism after that event indicated that it was anyway bubbling beneath the surface, not so far beneath, however, sadly. We saw that every time there's a flare-up of Hamas, there was a flare-up of Hamas rockets from Gaza, and Israel retaliated. There was always some kind of a flare-up of anti-Semitic, anti-Israel rhetoric on college campuses, etc. But this was an explosion, and it was happening surprisingly all over the United States, not just in Europe. We've grown used to seeing that in Europe, but not in America. And what I make of it is this is a sign. Anti-Semitism has always been in history a sign of a decaying society. Of course, the students there was the whole Tentifada. Students just recently burned their diplomas at Columbia on commencement day, etc. The students act up, and we've seen that throughout. Again, America has a rich history of student protests on campus. But here, what you have is the administration and professors. This is a real collaboration. Now, also, with backing from people from outside the universities. A lot of those protests, there were people from outside the campus coming in to stir up trouble. It wasn't just students. There were actually students who were trying to go to class. You wouldn't know that watching the news, right? But there were, and they felt intimidated, and it was a big disruption. And you can imagine spending that fortune on tuition and not being able to do your work because people were out having a party on campus that was violent and with disgusting language. I think that what it does, though, because it's also, this has been going on for years, where the university, rather than being a place for the free exchange of ideas, it became the opposite, where if you did not toe a certain line, and it's the leftist line, then in the first place, you wouldn't get good grades. And in the second place, you would be looked down upon by your peers. Your professors might dispute everything you said, not only in a paper, but in the classroom. It would be it's intellectual intimidation. And so gradually, all of this sort of came together like a volcano. And the eruption is we've seen it, especially since October 7th. But again, it isn't only October 7th. We see it all over. This idea that that everything is its opposite. The idea that it's okay to destroy property in the name of free speech. It's all right to call for the annihilation of a group of people. It's unthinkable.